You can run, but you can't hide. The South African Revenue Service is introducing a new system that will make it difficult and costly to dodge paying taxes. This is part of Vision 2024 to build a smart and modern receiver of revenue. Sars Commissioner Edward Kiswater joins us from our Cape Town studio to discuss its new system. A very good morning to you. How's it going to work?
Good morning, Shane. You know, there are three things every world-class revenue authority must be able to do. The first is to clarify and make its citizens aware of their obligation, remove all uncertainty. The second is to provide a seamless service, make it easy to comply for those who are willing. And the third is to make it, to detect easy and make it hard and costly for anyone who chooses not to comply. Now, we live in a world where we have enormous volumes of data, but not always the capability to crunch through it, to extract from it the insights that allows us to work with high levels of integrity and to derive from that the trends and the risks in order for us to give effect to our mandate. So what we have already developed in the last number of years is a basic capability to do artificial intelligence by using machines to crunch through the volumes of data, but we can do so much better. And so one of the things we are doing as the South African Revenue Service is to professionalize data science as a deep discipline, and then to create the capability for supercomputers to work through the volumes of data that we have, firstly to provide better outcomes for willing and able taxpayers, because that's the first objective. It's to ensure that those who are willing have a seamless experience, but also to give us the capability to detect any risk, any trend, and to be more proactive than what we currently are in order to ensure that those who then willfully or even criminally seek not to comply, to dodge the system in other words, that we are able to detect them and to enforce the laws that we are supposed to administer quite decisively.
Any speculation on how much money you're going to be able to get from this immediately? And you say that it'll be costly and obviously dangerous for those who dodge. In what way?
Well, I mean, in simple economics, you know, if you can save 100 Rand by not complying, the cost of non-compliance must be at least 101 Rand, so that there isn't a cost benefit for you. What do we already know? We know that South Africa is losing tens of billions of rands through illicit trade in areas of the tobacco and cigarette industry, in the fuel industry, in gold refining industry, and in many of these industries we use tens of billions of rands. We also know that in the last few years we've seen a proliferation of VAT fraud. Operators who enter the system with no intention to trade but purely register an entity for VAT. In fact, they buy shelf companies, and the only thing they wish to do is to defraud the system from money. We know that there has been, in the last number of years, some aggressive planning and complicated structures that large corporates engage in that has seen billions of rands of money flowing offshore, not all of it legitimately. We know, for example, that there are 2.1 million South Africans who have financial assets offshore. We have 93 countries with whom we exchange information automatically. So you can see that we have enormous little islands of data that we need to, in a coherent manner, put into a systematic data management universe that we can impose artificial intelligence on to help us identify the specifics and to also help us then detect and enforce the compliance. So my own estimate, and we will, working with the Davis Tax Committee later this year, publish a more firm number, but my own estimate is that there are literally more than 100 billion of rands that should be collected by the South African Revenue Service that's floating out there under the radar. And this is unacceptable. It's criminal, in fact.
I spoke to the head of the tax ombud, Judge Nwepe, yesterday, who said that he can help by getting more independence. I know you support this. Is this going to happen?
Well, I mean, the structure of the Ombudsman office is not my decision. It's the decision of the Minister of Finance. My own sense is that already the office is, for all intents and purposes, already independent. Sars does not interfere in any of its doings, but for the fact that the Ombudsman, the office, is not a separate entity, and so therefore its budget is consolidated into the Sars budget. Otherwise, for all the other bona fide reasons, the Office of the Ombudsman is very independent.
The NPA withdrawing charges against Ivan Pillay, Andries Janssen van Rensburg and Johan van Lochrenberg, the so-called rogue unit. Is this kind of stance something that SARS supports? Where does it leave you going forward in your business of collecting money?
You know, Jane, I've always said since my re-arrival at SARS on the 1st of May last year that I have seen no evidence of that which has been reported. We also know that various entities like the KPMG, they have withdrawn their report completely. Judge Kruon has issued an unconditional apology. And so those who continue to purport this narrative do so for reasons and motives that only they can explain. Some of these matters are still also serving at the court under matters that are being investigated by the public protector. But I can say in good conscience that I have seen no evidence of any such activities, and I can also add to that without fear of contradiction that to the extent that we do find anything that is irregular, we would certainly act on it. I've been very clear to our own staff that we will not tolerate any act that is unprofessional, that is outside of the bounds of law, because it then places huge questions on the integrity of SARS, and it compromises the important work that we do. So as far as I am concerned, any action outside of the law by any of our employees, any collusion with taxpayers is a dismissible offence, no questions asked.
Edward Kiswitter, good to talk to you. Thank you.